Yeah, so last week we spoke about the situation with Abu Qasim, who is real name Muhammad Haddad, who's actually now a convicted terrorist in prison. But Steve was not here, or what we classify as a Stevenator. So it wasn't really a fully rounded, kind of conversation, yeah? Stevie Robbins. So one of the things is that we got some new information that I wasn't privy to, or you wasn't privy to, that kind of shines a light on the situation and actually puts two individuals in a worse light than what I thought originally. And I don't know if you want to kind of say your piece, because you wasn't here last week when we spoke.
So it transpires that over a year ago, Hashim and Mansur were made aware of what was going on. And I think it was around the timing of the first Speaker's Corner forum that the police organised. So I think, from memory, I can't remember the precise month, but I think that was in the summertime. Yeah. So that would actually make it over a year and a half, or about approximately a year and a half ago. You need to buy a hearing aid, Joe. So Mansur and Hashim, it would now seem, have been aware of this information for over a year. And over a year!
A year!
Over a year!
Oh no!
And they haven't called him out, and they've not even distanced themselves from him. So they've been knowingly and actively standing, performing for that man, performing for that man's camera, putting that man's microphones on their bloody coats and clothes, whilst fully in the knowledge of what that man was going through and what allegations had been made against that man. Which does make it even more bizarre that I think it was only 2 days before Abu Qasim had his guilty verdict. Only 2 days before they even see it.
Well, if you look at Speaker's Corner Brotherhood, which is Abu Qasim's channel, he was still filming Mansour and Hashim 2 weeks prior to being actually put into prison. So, and you look at 90% of the videos from a year ago was Mansour, Hashim and Adnan Rashid. Now, one of the biggest issues for me is this, that when Paul told these guys about this dangerous individual in the park, instead of kind of like taking it on board and going, okay, let's try and challenge him or whatever, they ostracized Paul, and on top of that, Hashim kicked him out of a Facebook page for highlighting extremism. Yeah? And this is very, very problematic, and they stopped recording him from the Dawa team. So you see a year ago...
So they failed to call this individual out when they were fully in the knowledge of what was going on. They failed to stop performing for him, working for him, performing on his camera, being filmed by him. But they ostracised, as Raj just said, another Muslim brother who had the balls, who had the backbone to call this individual out. And they ostracised him for doing nothing more than calling this guy out, who they already knew was a sinister, radical, dangerous radical that was being investigated by the police.
I'm not sure.
That's very interesting to look into.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
We'll look into it.
I'm not sure if it was, because I don't think it's got a huge number of followers.
2,000 people. So I want to say something, because a lot of people are saying to me, Raj, you're picking on Mansour and Hashim, and they're innocent kind of bystanders. Now, I'm going to explain how I first met Mansour. When I come to the park 2 years ago, I was speaking to Daniel from DCCI in a private conversation, and Mansour, the first time I met him, come up with a camera of 5 separate Dawa teams and was shouting at Daniel that you're a hate preacher, you're an extremist, and all of that. So Mansour isn't some innocent bystander that hasn't called other people out for being extremists. That's how I first met him. Yeah? And so I want this narrative to stop, that these two guys are innocent in their kind of dawa, because they're not.
And now when challenged, their only reaction is to scuttle away.
Yeah.
I mean, are they men or mice? The fact that they now scuttle away when they're confronted on this point. So why? Let's theorise on why this is the situation. Either they are incredibly dumb, stupid, no judgment whatsoever. That's one option. I don't personally believe they are stupid, uneducated people. Another theory would be they support Abu Qasim, and therefore that's why they didn't call him out or criticise him, because they actually didn't think he was doing anything wrong, and they agree with him, and they agree with his authentic Tarweed website, and they agree with Sheikh Faisal, and they agree with the lectures that he was putting on his website and transcribing that were encouraging 12-year-old children to make and use IEDs, that was encouraging to people to kill the Kafir, to kill Jews specifically. So that would be another option. They actually agree with all of that. And to be honest, they are the only two options that I can think of. Stupidity, no complete lack of judgment, or they agree with it. What other possible theory is there?
Well, I mean, I come in Susan.
There they go. I don't know.
Can I say something
But again, wouldn't you think if someone has told them over a year ago about this guy, and then this guy's regularly coming to to Speaker's Corner, chatting to them, befriending them, filming them, miking them up?
Yeah.
I believe they did. I think they regularly went up Edgware Road for dinner after Speaker's Corner on a Sunday. So, you know, and if you look at Abu Qasim, we know has got a range of pseudonyms that he uses. Abu Qasim, Mohammed Ahad, and I think there are other variants. Google those names. Go onto the Facebook pages of those names and see who the friends of him are on Facebook. And I tell you, very familiar names come up.
Well, we got the video.
Ali Dawa
Oh
comes up.
no!
Mohammed Hijab comes up.
No, I'm not saying nothing.
So, you know, these people are such hypocrites because they're so quick to criticise other people and throw nonsense at other people and absolutely use guilt by association for other people. Yet they won't accept any of this.
People are going to ask about the Adnan Rashid situation, and people are saying I'm taking it personally or you're taking it personally. Now I'm going to say something. We are. Well, I am. The reason being, because Adnan Rashid has accused me multiple times of being a paid agent for Tommy Robinson, that I'm here as an Islamophobe to cause trouble, and that's all I'm here for. So I will ask him the question, why did you first lie about being at a Sheikh Faisal lecture in 2003, where you were supporting Sheikh Faisal, and we've had the audio verified by a very reliable source, and we can use it legally, that you was in that lecture hall saying that you must support Sheikh Faisal for his views because he was just about to be convicted and put into prison for 8 years for promoting and inciting terrorism, because he actually incited terrorism. He lied about that. Now,
and he's still lying. He still denies that video is of him.
And then he's lying about, because one of the interesting links is this, he was supporting Sheikh Faisal at that time. Now, people make mistakes, and if you made a mistake, I'm the type of person to say, okay, you might have done that in your past. If you renounce it, then that's cool. But when you lie about it, I'm going to ask why you're lying about it. The second thing is that Abu Qasim or Muhammad Haddad, the camera guy, was again linked to Sheikh Faisal. So this is two incidents where Sheikh Faisal has come into contact, or let's just say not contact physically, but in terms of the ideology, has come into his sphere of influence with Adnan Rashid. And we need to know why. Firstly, you're denying that's you in 2003. And secondly, when Steve told you about the links to Anjem Chowdhury 3 months ago, you said on camera, and we've got it, that you support one extremist and he supports another, insinuating you're supporting Tommy Robinson and insinuating he supports Anjem Chowdhury. If you truly believed he wasn't extreme, you wouldn't have said that. Yeah, you wouldn't have said that. You would have said it's a lie. Every rebuttal you have given Adnan Rashid is not about the extremism. It's about trying to cover your back. Every single time you have done this on camera is you're making us look bad. What about looking at yourself and thinking to yourself, maybe, just maybe, the bigger picture is he's dangerous and you need to call him out, like Shamsi has done and Paul Williams. So, you know, we have our differences, but I'll give them the credit where credit's due.
And one of the big themes in the court case for Abu Qasim featured his dishonesty, his absolute, continual and repeated dishonesty. In fact, when he was found guilty, via his defence lawyer, he asked not to be sent to Belmarsh on the night that he was found guilty. And the reason he gave for that was that he said to the judge, via his lawyer, that he had to go home to look after his elderly mother. And do you know what the judge's response to that was? A, this is a very serious crime, Mr. Arhad, and frankly, I have heard so many different stories from you throughout this court case about where you live and who you care for. Simply, I do not believe a word that comes out of your mouth. And another reason of the many that she knew he was dishonest was the video that was shown from Speaker's Corner.
Oh, COE.
Had a COE video.
Not that he gave it, it was
where
played.
he was denying basic facts that we all knew to be true. For example,
And I'm sure they
associating with
said that
Andrew
we
Chadwick.
saved-
For the fact that he was on trial, that he stood here and repeatedly said that wasn't me, it's mistaken identity. The man is an inherent liar, and clearly he shares that facet with Mr. Adnan Rashid, who is also an inherent liar, because he doesn't again have the backbones to say what we can all see and hear.
Tell them about the time that when you originally went up to them and told them about the situation when Saud and Adnan Rashid was there, and then they made him do a piece to camera.
Yeah, it was one of the most, I would say, both hilarious but embarrassing moments I've ever witnessed at Speaker's Corner. So this was after, yes, as you say, we first learned that yes, Abu is on trial himself. They were confronted. They were worried that they were being associated.
No,
with Abu
that
Qasim.
time was that we only knew he was with Anjem Chowdhury at that time.
Oh, was it?
We didn't even know about the trial.
No,
until-
it wasn't the trial. It was the trial because Adnan was paranoid that he was being associated and Qasim was being described as his cameraman. So just standing over there in a quiet corner of Speaker's Corner this one Sunday, basically Adnan Rashid directed Abu Qasim to do a short piece to camera in front of the camera, denying that he was Adnan's cameraman. And the entire sad little affair was being directed by Adnan Rashid. And at one point, obviously, Abu Qasim didn't get the script quite right, so Adnan brought it to a halt and started it again. And it was hilarious. And I think that video's still up.
Yes,
You
so
can see
actually
it.
on OSCC Dawa.
But again,
Saeed's channel.
Adnan Rashid's priority there wasn't to get Abu Qasim to leave the corner. That would be the obvious one.
Come on, Bob.
To
Yeah,
renounce
yeah.
his extremism.
Come on.
Adnan Rashid's only priority in that sad little affair was to get Abu Qasim to say to camera, "I'm not Adnan Rashid's cameraman." Because the only thing Adnan Rashid worries about is not Dawa, is not Islam. The only thing Adnan cares about is Adnan Rashid. And he accuses the likes of me and Raj of being paid when he's the only bloody person here, as far as I know, who is paid. Do you know the reason he's not here today? Because apparently he's giving a speech in a conference in Bolton. He is paid to go around the world. He was in Australia a couple of months ago, being paid to give his nonsense diatribes. Yet he has the audacity to point the finger at us and say, we're paid for the nonsense we talk.
Do we look paid? Well, that's not for us to say, but we will let the court of public. Hold on 1 minute. We are not, although it looks like the Stephen and the Raj are like the Judge Reds of the Speaker's Corner. We are not the judge, jury, and executioner. What we are is that
because we don't execute people in this
what
country.
we are is that we are going to shine a light on the hypocrisy of these guys that has been accusing us of some of the most even 2 weeks ago. They called SOCO an extremist terrorist channel.
Why? For filming Tommy Robinson read Martin Sellner's speech.
That's right.
And when Tommy Robinson said at the time, it doesn't matter what the speech is, it was about the issue, the fact that Martin Sellner had been stopped at the border and hadn't been allowed in. Tommy clearly said it's not the content of the speech that's important, it's the point of free speech and being allowed to come and speak at Speaker's Corner. And you know, whatever you might think of Martin Sellner and GI, to accuse someone that filmed one moment in time at Speaker's Corner, that makes them a terrorist.
What does that make them?
If that is sufficient to make someone
What
a terrorist,
does it
then I
make
think
them?
that clearly defines them as
100
terrorists.
videos
Right. But
with
this-
Adnan Rashid, Mansour and Hashim on Speaker's Corner Brotherhood. Go to that channel and you'll see how many videos. Now, when it comes to Adnan Rashid, Mansour and Hashim, I'm saying this straight. We're not going to forget about this. Either you be a man up and say, okay, explain to us why the situation occurred the way it did and tell the truth, or you can just keep on ignoring us, and all we would do is keep on asking you. Yeah, it's not gonna stop. Anyone that knows me knows how stubborn I am. I would do it for 15 years if I have to, and that's not even a joke. So the easiest route is to have a chat and let's find out, was you negligent in allowing a guy who is now in prison for promoting terrorism, was you negligent having him filming you, or was it something more nefarious? That's a question I'll ask you. Yeah?
So, and I also want to talk about something else. So there were two co-defendants in this trial, Abu Qasim and a guy called Kamali, I think his name was. Kamali was kept in custody during this entire case. Qasim was not. Qasim was let out. He was allowed to walk the streets. He was allowed to come to Speaker's Corner on a weekly basis. He had bail conditions. And from memory, I think there were 3 or 4 bail conditions. One, that he had to report to a police station once a week on a Saturday. A second was that, I'm not sure if I can remember them all, but the main one that I want to focus on. One of his bail conditions was not to use the internet, apart from using WhatsApp to communicate with his immediate family. So one of his bail, the other guy is in custody, he's let out on bail conditions. One of the bail conditions to be not using the internet. Look, just go home or look on your phones now. Look at that man's own YouTube channel. What's it called? Speaker's Corner Brotherhood. He was putting up videos on his own YouTube channel until I think even on the morning of his verdict, he put a video up on his YouTube channel. Yet his bail condition was not to use the internet. So a bail condition was set and blatantly breached. Blatantly breached, and there was no action taken.
That's something that we need to discuss as well,
blatantly breached. And I've raised that very point with the police. And the response was, Steve, don't you worry about that.
Yeah,
well, I'm sorry if such dangerous people are allowed out to walk the streets, or allowed out to come to Speaker's Corner on a weekly basis, and allowed to post their nonsense, continue to post their nonsense online in breach of their bail conditions. I will have a problem with that.
Yeah, and another thing is, I think go to Soko Film, big up to Soko for that video, because he's really broken down the hypocrisy of Adnan Rashid in particular. I think Soko actually done a real kind of what I call a putting a nail in the coffin kind of job, because once you watch that, it's very hard to kind of like really kind of like defend Adnan Rashid. Even Paul Williams has had now second thoughts, because originally Paul was like, Adnan is innocent in all this. I would say something to anybody that thinks Adnan's innocent. Adnan is the head of that team of Mansour and Hashim. Adnan is probably one of the biggest Islamic revisionists in the world. Yeah. In fact, I've never seen someone revise history more than this individual. Now the problem with Adnan Rashid is this, that I seen a video of him saying that the only reason for him to be in the UK is to do dawah. Now to me, that's also problematic. That's a bigger question as well. Like, if your only purpose here is to convert, then you're not really a productive citizen of society. That might explain why he's aligning himself with individuals that have a very, very dodgy background. Because his whole aim is to spread Islam rather than be a productive member of society. Sorry. So when it comes to Adnan Rashid, we are going to talk at some point. You can hide as much as you want, but if you walk into Speaker's Corner, we're going to have a talk.
And Adnan Rashid is clearly feeling very defensive at the moment, and he occasionally, well not occasionally, probably quite regularly, bandies around threats of legal action. In fact, I put that video of him at the Sheikh Faisal lecture on my YouTube channel. He threatened legal action against me at that point, and I said, bring it on.
Can I say
bring
something?
it on. No,
do it.
But now, again, he's using this casual threat of legal action and libel and slander, etc., etc. Go and have a look at the Henry Jackson Society website, and there's an incredibly interesting article on there that's got a very large section on Mr. Adnan Rashid that tells you a vast array of very interesting things about that man, very interesting quotes that he said, people that he's supported. Now, we certainly won't be, but don't anyone else be cowed into